the process there, I closed my notes, so now I get to stand up here and look at myself. All right. Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for coming out. Obviously, a great turnout and a great night to be out here. Many of you have already been asking me, and I've kind of been trying to explain to you the purpose of Breitbart doing these events, doing these meetups throughout the country. Basically, the purpose is, and you guys all know this because you're part of it, Breitbart is a tremendous online community made up of tons and tons and tons of people who go to our website every day, who listen to the show on SiriusXM, who share the articles on Facebook and Twitter. We are very proud of that online community and what you guys have become as we've grown up. One of the reasons we wanted to do this was to show that Breitbart online community can also be an offline group. We've done these now. We've done 4 of them in Texas, 1 in South Carolina, 1 in Indiana, 1 in Tennessee, 1 in Arizona, 3 in Iowa, 1 in New Hampshire. This is our 2nd in Massachusetts and 1 in Connecticut. And I can tell you, we are having a tremendous amount of people who are really coming out and appreciating hearing from some of our Breitbart contributors and enjoying the time. So thank you for being out here. A couple of disclaimer type things. First off, obviously everybody should be here for a fun time. This is politics. We're not all going to agree on every single issue as we're talking and having discussion. As an example, I could ask the Trump-Cruz question in this room and we'd probably have a little bit of a fun time there. No, I'm not doing it. So, everyone's entitled to their own opinion. Please make sure that we're always respecting that. You know, we want everyone to refrain from any type of abusive or inappropriate remarks. We do have 2 of Boston's finest back here in the corner. Actually, 1 right now. The other one's... These guys work their butts off every day to protect your families. So tonight we're going to do a favor for them, and I think we should let him have the night off. What do you think? All right.
No issues.
Fair enough. I've talked to several people, and you'll see the signs around. We are going to be taking pictures and recording video of the event tonight. Those videos will not be used on the website, however, the pictures and the audio recording will. If you're not comfortable with that, we get it, we understand. The best thing is probably for you to leave if you're not comfortable with that. So, that being said, one last thing, the Black Rose. Let's give a round of applause to the You know, one of the reasons that the location for this one was put up so late was because I was trying to talk to people I knew. Being a guy from Indianapolis, Indiana, I was trying to talk to people I knew from Boston and find a place in downtown. And I finally talked to the right person who put me in touch with these guys here. They've been wonderful in giving us this space. So please buy some drinks, buy some food, and most importantly, tip well. Now the exciting part. You guys don't have to listen to me anymore, and Sunny gets to come up and talk. So I'm going to let Sunny introduce herself and kind of give some background on herself. But Sunny's one of our Breitbart contributors. She's a fantastic speaker. You guys are in for a real treat tonight. So Sunny, the floor's yours.
I've been having one of the days, so I just make sure you got this on. Thank you guys so much for coming out. I am shocked. I know that the circus is going on right now and you could be at home watching the circus play out. Instead you came here and I'm so grateful for that. So thank each and every one of you. You don't know what you guys do for us. The clicks, the likes, the show-ups, the conferences, the support you give us on Facebook, social networking, Twitter. It helps us keep going. And that's why we love it when we can come to you to give something back for all that you've given to us. So thank you guys so much for having us, and I hope that you keep this up. Meet some people here that maybe didn't know before, find out what they're doing, find out what they're interested in, and find out a way for you to get active and into the movement and actually realize that you are not alone. You do have a family, and here's your Breitbart family to start with. So you have that. Okay, so a little bit about myself for introduction. How did I get into this? Because everybody always asks me that. Well, as a teenager, I was told that I would never be able to have a child. So when I found out I was pregnant with my daughter, the same day I found out my mother passed. So the day I found out I was pregnant with my daughter, also lost my mother. And it was a very hard time for me. And I didn't think that I would be able to carry my child full birth, and I just stressed, and it was very, very bad time in my life. When my daughter came out healthy, happy, 10 fingers, 10 toes, I said, God, you did it. Everybody said it couldn't be done. The doctors told me it wouldn't be done. My mom told me, you know, it's okay, you can adopt. But you did what everybody said couldn't be done, so I'm going to turn everything over to you. It's yours. Be very careful when you turn everything over to God, because sometimes He opens more doors than you know what to do. And that's what happened to me. I wanted simply to start a blog. There was a lot of things going on in my community. I knew nothing about politics. So it was not a political blog. It was basically, I saw problems in my community and I thought that I might have some solutions about how we fix them. A couple of my articles posted on a site called Hip Hop Republican. I was like, hell, like y'all have lost your ever-loving mind, pull it down. And I like literally went after them, you pull it down. I am not a Republican, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what it is that you're doing, but you need to pull it down. They kept pulling it. They kept taking my articles and they kept publishing them. And I said, okay, I have to figure this out. So that was the point where I started. I had to learn what a Democrat was. I had to learn what a Republican was. I had to learn what a conservative was. I had to learn what a progressive was. I had to learn the difference between an activist and a pundit. I had to learn everything from scratch in that moment. And I was like, okay, I got this. I can work with this. All right, that's good. Then I get a phone call that says, we would like to hear you come and speak at one of our tea parties. Now you done really lost your mind. Okay, maybe I have some Republican leanings, just maybe. But I know I'm not Tea Party. I said no. And everything in my life started to crumble around me. And I said, you know what? Okay, I give up. I said I turn it over. I turn it over. I'm going to talk to your Tea Party. I go, and honestly speaking, and please trust you will get nothing but honesty from me tonight. I didn't know how the white people would accept me. I didn't know how they would feel about what I had to say. I was still myself. I didn't sugarcoat anything. I didn't change anything. And I was petrified to death that I was going to get up in front of this crowd and everybody is going to be looking at me like I'm an alien with like a pinata on my head. I got a standing ovation the first speech I ever gave. I got welcomed into a Tea Party family. I started to learn that, hey, they're not what everyone said they are. They're not what everyone thinks they are. They're different. I can pray with these people. I can eat with these people. It was an eye-opening experience for me, to say the least. Well, in the audience that day, and this is how God works, in the audience that day, Stephen K. Bannon's sister. Bannon is the ruler among us Breitbartians. He's our leader. His sister was in the crowd that day. And she took my video, she sent it to him and said, you have to get this woman into the movie. There was a documentary that came out, Fired from the Heartland. Michelle Balkin, Michelle Malkin, Essie Cupp, Denise Borelli, just the powerhouse women of the conservative movement. And me. My first venture into any of this, and I'm like amongst the greats. That's what Bannon does. So I did Fight from the Heartland. Shortly after that came The Undefeated, Sarah Palin's The Undefeated. If you've ever seen a documentary, I'm the one black girl in the documentary. I only say that because that's what the media picked up on. It wasn't what I was saying, it wasn't why I was doing what I was doing. The only thing that the media picked up on was that it was one black girl in the documentary. And that's the story that they ran. So after I finished The Undefeated, we had an airing of it in Minneapolis, Minnesota. And I go there and I have to tell you about, at this point in my life, I'm like, even God can't keep me in this movie. Because no one was listening. I was arguing with everybody. everybody. We were disagreeing with everything. It was like I could make no leeway to the point where I was like, maybe this just isn't for me. Maybe God was wrong and this just isn't for me. I'm in the hotel, I look at the top of the escalator, and it's Andrew Breitbart. He's surrounded by this big throng of people. And I'm like, okay, I gotta go and meet Andrew. This is just, before I stop, I have to meet Andrew. And I go up the escalator, and I get to him, and I say, Andrew Breitbart! And I like screamed at like the top of my lungs. He turns around and looks at me, and he's like, Sonny Johnson! Like just as loud as I had screamed to him. And everybody who had surrounded him started looking at me. And that's what Andrew did. Andrew had the power to draw people into himself. But once he drew people in, he distributed those people to other voices, to other thoughts, to other ways of reasoning. He never took the crowd as his own. He made sure he opened the crowd up to his best thinkers. And I was so blessed to be included in that group. So that weekend, Andrew was speaking, and I want to tell you again, this is one of my first conferences that I went to. No one looked at me. No one spoke to me. No one shook my hand. No one asked me where I was from. No one started a conversation with me. I spent most of the entire convention by myself. Very lonely, very depressed, wondering what the hell am I doing here? So Andrew goes and speaks. I'm in the back of the auditorium, sitting at a table by myself, watching Andrew. And Andrew starts to speak. They could hear me at the front of the room. Because I was like, oh my God, there's someone that gets it. Someone understands, someone sees. I had never spoken to Andrew at that level to actually see there was a conservative who understood where I was coming from, who understood where I wanted to go, and also had the means to get there because he didn't put up with BS. He didn't take the political correctness. And I became like the biggest Andrew Breitbart fan at that moment. That meant everything to me. A couple of months later, he was invited to speak at CPAC. CPAC really wanted Andrew to come. And Andrew said, okay, I'll come, but Sonny has to introduce me. And they were like, no, we have, this person can do it, that person can do it, bigger name, better name, brighter name. Andrew says, if it's not Sonny, then I'm not coming. I introduced Andrew Breitbart at CPAC. That's who Andrew was. To him, it was all about inserting new voices, new thought, new blood, new passion, new life, new heart into this movement. And until his dying breath, that is what he did. And he passed about 3 weeks after I introduced him at CPAC. So the last big speech he got, I had the honor of being able to introduce him at that speech. After he passed, and I have to say this, he died of natural causes, of health problems, and that's one thing I always remind people, take care of your health. You can't help and you can't fight and you can't take care of your own family and be a part of the American dream if you're not healthy. If you don't have your own health, you can't help us fight. So first and foremost, make sure you take care of your own health. At Breitbart, we learned that the hard way. So I always like to make sure I throw that out there. And so they had a couple of funerals for Andrew, and the last one they had was in Washington, D.C. And I had been invited to come, so I came and I showed up, and I go to register, and they say, go down to the speaker's table. The speaker's table? What do you mean? You're a speaker tonight. No, I'm not. Oh, yes, you are. So there's Congressman King, Congressman, editor-in-chief of this one, president of this one, CEO of this one, like all of these huge, big names. Last person on the list, the last one to speak after all of these heavyweights was me. Yet again, another Stephen Bannon idea. introduced Andrew as CPAC, 2 minutes before we went to get on stage, he took a little piece of paper and he scribbled out some notes. I was like, what are you doing? I'm writing my speech. And this was like literally 2 minutes before we were getting ready to walk on stage. So I sat there during his funeral, thinking about that moment, seeing myself being placed in that same moment. And I scribbled, we are Breitbart, on a little piece of paper. And I went up and gave my speech to remember Breitbart. After it, Joel Pollack, who was one of Andrew's closest friends, came to me and said, for just a minute, for just a little while, it felt like my friend was still here. Don't ever lose that. So that's why I'm as passionate as I am. That's why I'm as loud as I am. Sometimes confrontational as I am. I don't ever want to forget what Andrew gave me. Not what he gave the movement, not what he gave other people, not what he gave the site, not what he gave journalism. Personally, what he gave me. And that's what I try to bring out in every single thing that I do. If just for an instant you feel like you got that passion back, you got that fire back, you got that spark back, then I feel like I'm doing right by Andrew, and that's what I set out to do every time I come out to speak. Alright, so that's basically just about me, and ever since I've been at the site, you find me on Red Eye, and traveling here, traveling there, have a lot of fun doing it. And that's basically where I am. Now, I don't never like to open these up with the hubris to think that I know what you need to know or what you want to know. So the way I like to do this is to give you all a choice. You can either ask me questions and we can start off there with what you want to know, or I can start off by just telling you what's on my mind at the moment. The problem with me telling you what's on my mind at the moment is I love to talk. So I will turn into a preacher up here if you let me. So it is your choice now whether you want to ask questions or you want me to go and just go off what's on my heart and mind.
Go for it.
Oh, let's take one question and another.
I'd love to hear about the problems and the struggles you felt in the community at the beginning of that journey. I'm sure.
Oh, he wants to know the struggles that I was facing before I got into conservatism. Okay. I guess maybe a little bit more family info on this. My mother is my biological mother is a drug addict. She is a drug addict to this day. So when she had me, she wasn't able to take care of me. So I went to live with my father. My father wasn't able to take care of me, so he gave me to his brother's girlfriend. And she raised me. The best blessing I could have ever gotten. I was put into a household with God. I was put into a household where education was mandatory. I was put into a household where respect was beat into you if you didn't have it naturally. I was put into a well-structured household, and that's how I got to live. Even though we were in the ghetto, even we didn't know we were poor because we always had what we needed. So you don't know that you're poor until you get about 14, 15, and you start wanting things and realizing that your parents can't get it for you. And that's when I started to see everything around me a little bit more clearer. So you have half of your family is addicted to drugs. Partial of your family is in government welfare poverty. And then you have 1 or 2 uncles and aunts spread out that own 200 acres of land here, run their own law firm there, but you don't get to see those ones. You get to be stuck around the poverty. So I got to see poverty in 2 forms. I got to see it in the inner city, in the ghetto, and I got to see country poverty, because country poverty is just as bad as inner city poverty. Sometimes even worse. In the country, I lived in a house with no plumbing. No plumbing. So no running water, no showers, no toilets, no anything. So poverty in the country can be worse than that which you experience in the ghetto on some levels. I started losing my friends at 15. I lost my very first friend at 15 to street violence. I lost my girlfriend started getting pregnant and having babies. I was the actually last one of all my friends to have a child. And everybody just got stuck. I was diagnosed with Crohn's and I had to have surgery. The surgery put me down for 6 weeks. So for 6 weeks I couldn't go anywhere, I couldn't do anything, any of it. And once I got back up and got myself moving, I went and looked at my friends and everybody was in the same place. Everybody was doing the same thing. They had moved, they had changed, they had grown. And I said to myself, if I stay here, this is what I'm going to become. If I don't get up and get out of here right now, 20 years later, I'm still going to be going and visiting the same people in the same places. They're still not going to have anything, and I'm not going to have anything. So I moved. Within 24 hours, I moved and I got out. When you get out, it gives you the chance to look back. If one thing that I could say the biggest struggle is the education. When you aren't given the education and then you are at 18 years old trying to teach yourself the basics of life. So we're like, why aren't you responsible? Why aren't you? They don't even know what respect is. These are things you have to try to learn by yourself because you're not being taught them in your community. You're not, in some cases, being taught them in your home. Because I moved with my mother to with my father. So I went from rules and discipline and education to very lax with my father. So I ran the streets because he didn't care. So that's what I did. I went out and I ran the streets because I had no one watching me. And that's kind of where we are. We have gotten to the point where we don't look at ourselves as our responsibility. And I don't mean that as a group. I mean that individually. Even when you fall down to your worst and you're at your least, when poverty is enough, the bottom never comes. When welfare is enough, the bottom never comes. Because you know at the first of the month, the next check is going to come. So you never hit the bottom. You always can hold on, just wait to the first. If I can make it to the first. When people who aren't on the system know that sometimes even when the first comes doesn't mean the check comes. And that's how you know you've fallen and hit the bottom. And they never get to experience that. And to me, that was the thing that I saw was most detrimental. Because after I had my surgery, I hit rock bottom. And that was the only way I could look to find a way up. As long as you have, they say it's the safety net. It's not a safety net. It is the net that stops you from falling and hurting so bad that you never want to fall again. That's what's being taken away. The actual realization that when you fall and pick yourself back up, you start doing things differently because you never want to fall again. But a person who has never fell doesn't know that feeling. A person who can just wait for the first doesn't know that feeling. And that is what is taken away from us, that robs us from realizing we can have better, we deserve better, we want better, and we're going to have better. Most of us don't get to hit that rock bottom to bounce back up. And to me, that was to see everybody I loved, to see them stagnant, and to see them not moving, and to see them not going anywhere, and to know that they weren't going to move, that they were going to remain stagnant, they weren't going to go anywhere. That's what pushed me to say it won't be me, and I have to do something different. And that's the message that I bring. I don't bring a message of anything like, I don't want you to join a group. I don't even ask people to change their party affiliations or who to vote for. The only thing I ask people is, first and foremost, take care of yourself. Make sure you can take care of yourself, then make sure you can take care of your family. Make sure you can take care of your family, then make sure you can take care of your community. After that, go enjoy your life. Because if we can get everything every single person to take care of their own family, their own self, their own household, and then help their immediate family, and then help their community. We don't need government to do it. But until the day that we take that responsibility on ourselves as individuals, every single one of us in a large enough group, you're going to keep hearing the clamors for government. And when you hear the clamors for government, you hear the poverty that results. And it disgusts me to the bottom of my soul. Especially when everything about our culture tells us we don't like being broke. That makes it even worse. And if I can, I'm going to piggyback off of that because it's a subject that, I'm sorry, it's a little bit more. It's a subject that's been kind of in my circle lately. So I've been wanting to talk about it so I can get some kind of understanding out. And so you know, with the Oscars So White controversy coming out, I haven't watched the Oscars in, I don't think I ever did, but I don't watch their shows. I know who they are, so I don't complain about them when stuff like this comes up. But in the conversations, the subject of Black History Month came up. I got infuriated. I got very, very mad because you have a lot of conservatives who say you should get rid of Black History Month unless you're going to have a White History Month or Hispanic History Month or, you know, Cats and Dogs History Month. You can't have one if you don't have them all. And this is coming out of the mouths of conservatives and Republicans. So I asked the simple question, how did Black History Month start? It started as Negro History Week. It was the second week of February to celebrate two Republicans, Frederick Douglass and Abraham Lincoln. Both of their birthdays fell during the second week of February. So National Negro History Week was put during that week. It was not designed just for Black history. It was designed so that Blacks could see not only their own history, but what was possible when we work together. When you take white and Black and you work together, you can save an entire nation. This is coming after the Civil War, immediately following the Civil War. That was the message. If we work together, we can save an entire nation. But you have to know the history. You have to know why and what you're fighting for. That's why Black History, Negro History Week was started. Now, a Republican came along and changed it to Black History Month. He thought he was doing a good thing because all the Black progressives were clamoring for it, so why can't we give it to them? You gave them your history. The Republican Party, if you don't know why Blacks don't understand that they used to be Republicans, it's because you turned your history over to progressives when you let them start fiddling with it. You let them start changing it, you let them start manipulating it, and this is Republican history. This was not their history to change. This was our history. And we just turned it over and walked away. Now, instead of studying people like Booker T. Washington, Maggie Walker, and Frederick Douglass or Marcus Garvey, instead of celebrating the historical Black power that has been in this country, they celebrate Oprah and Michael Jackson and Michael Jordan. They have living heroes instead of historical connections. That's what they took away when you gave them Negro History Week. Now I am sitting in a room full of conservatives, I assume, for the most part, who don't even know why you're telling people Democrats were the party of the KKK. Your next line should have been, when they were forming, we
don't think we know that.
That's kind of why I do this. This is kind of why I do this is your history. And everyone asks me, why don't they get it? Why don't they understand? Why don't they know? Why don't you know? This is yours. Why don't you know it? Because if you know it, then you wouldn't tell, I don't know how we can connect with each other.
Because we go to their schools, not our schools.
But you have the people in our party who let them take it over. And we have to make sure it wasn't like they came in and stole it. It was taken over in front of everybody's face. And nobody stopped it. So you can't just blame it on the people who took it. You also got to blame it on the people that let it get took. And that's what we did. We surrendered our history. It belonged to us and we gave it to them. So now is that question, we don't have a way to connect. Hey, I know how we can connect. Let's talk about Republican history. Why would I want to, I mean, we could go to start naming your people. These are yours. These are the people that led the bedrock for this. And we don't even know their names. So you don't know how to connect because you don't even know their names. So if it's possible for the progressives to have robbed you of your history, imagine what they've done to the black community. If they took it from you, imagine what they did to them. And that's where we stand now. So if they say, take away black history, and you say yes, you have taken yourself, once again, away from your history onto their battlefield. Now you're stuck in a race game. Now it's black versus white. See, when you held on to your history, it's what was black and white can do together. Hold on to your history. Let go of your history, it becomes black versus white. And that makes all the difference in the world. After Black History Month was started, Negro History Week was started, changes started going on in the South. So by 1907, Tuskegee Institute, which was started by Booker T. Washington, was graduating more self-made millionaires than Harvard, Princeton, and Yale combined.
Yeah.
So when they say we can't do it, when they want to tell black people about white privilege, or when they, who can bring up this period of time and say at one point, y'all had it. Y'all was good. What happened? What changed to start getting them to see that there was periods of American history where blacks did extremely well? And you can go and look at cities like Richmond, Virginia, and Atlanta, all through North Carolina, South Carolina, Alabama. And there are cities that still stand that were formed by former slaves. That's ours. That doesn't belong to them. That's ours. But we don't know it enough to take it, stand on it, defend it. And that's why I mentioned, you have to decide what is the goal. Is the goal to beat Democrats or is it to save America? It's not the same thing. If you want to beat a Democrat, you argue with a Democrat about whether or not Black History Month should exist. But at that point, while you're doing that and you're telling them it shouldn't exist, all the black people are looking at you like, you've lost. Because at this point, they don't even want to hear from you. They think you don't even want them to know their history. Instead of you saying your history is my history. and white Republicans. Tuskegee, all of them were started by black hands with white partnership. That's ours. Now you have government because we've given up ours. We let it sneak in and we let it invade. And so we have to get to the point where we make our choice. Do we want to reach out to the black community and actually try to save the urban cities in America? Or do we fight Democrats on their racial battlefield when you never win? Trust and believe they are better at you at being bigots. They are better at you at playing a race card. I don't care how good you think you are, you will get beat by a Democrat when it comes to race. Why play with them? It's not necessary to play with them. You don't have to go through them to get to the people. Learn your history and go straight to the people. So you don't have them looking at you like suspect, but we share something. We have something in common. Let's start there. And that's a much better conversation than starting with, I'm going to take away your history. It's a lot better conversation starting to say, look at the history we share, than it is, I don't want you to celebrate your history. Even with optics, it makes a difference. Substance, it makes a big difference. But even with optics, it makes a difference. I'm sorry, you go ahead.
You made a really compelling case. I really appreciate the history shown of the Republicans' role in making this a great country, collaborating with whites. And I think you made a wonderful point about the way go down that hole that the Democrats are prepared for us to lose. So what are the good steps we can take in a positive direction to achieve this good objective that you sketched for us?
Actually, I had one of the best examples last night in Hartford. I talked to a gentleman in Hartford. He was a white gentleman in Hartford, and he's been trying to start a business since last April. And roadblocks has been put his way, stepping stones, he can't get it. Every time he gets one step done, another step comes up. And it's like impossible for him to start this business. And he's sitting and he's talking to me with tears almost welling up in his eyes. And while I was, sensitive about his subject that he was talking to me about, I had to stop him for a second because his initial question was the same as yours. How do we start this conversation? And I said, did you ever think about just going up and saying, I'm trying to start a business. I got this happened, this happened, this happened, this happened, and this happened. I can't start it. Everything you just told me. Have you ever done that? And he looks at me funny. He's like, well, no. I said, so when you try to do your outreach, you go and say, Democrats did this. You should know this. You should really pick this out. You start telling them policies. You start telling them where you stand on issues. What we forget while we're fighting so hard for these conservative policies that we're fighting for is we forget the conservative principles. How do we treat each other? How do we talk to each other? How do we relate and influence with each other? Do we start a conversation with someone we just met talking about politics? Who does that? In your normal everyday life, how often do you start a conversation with a completely new person talking about politics? Every day. Okay, I see her. She's like, I do. I'll give you that. But majority of people don't. Majority of people find a commonality, some kind of connection to themselves. They stay on the small stuff, kind of get to know each other. Then one day they'll get into the bigger subjects. We want to jump into 8 feet with people we know don't know. And you have to realize if you can't reach someone one time, that they'll never get it. It's not that they're incapable. That was one time. And if I came to you and I said, do you know the sky was purple? What would you tell me? I had lost my mind. Yet you want to go to people who have thought a different way their entire life and start the conversation by telling them how they're wrong. You cannot do it.
Tell us your opinion what Manning Johnson has left in the conservative movement.
Who?
Manning Johnson.
Who is Manning Johnson?
Manning Johnson was a black member of the Communist Party. Made the break. Still believes he got crucified for it. Manning Johnson is shot. Manning Johnson.
No, I don't. I've never heard of him.
Everybody look him up.
Okay, but I will not knowing the name go off of your subject.
I have a question. My question is, within the black community, you have icons on the Democratic side, right? President Kennedy sent federal troops down here to assure that African Americans would have the right to vote and not suppressed. Then you followed up with, not you, LBJ followed him with all of his anti-poverty programs. The Republicans, I think, and conservatives always seem to be on the other side of that coin, even though they're trying to do the right thing. What somebody said to me earlier, like, you don't have to be a conservative to figure out if you spend more than you have, then you're going to be broke. I mean, that's not a conservative principle, that's just life. But how do you reach people with the Democratic Party is doing a great job of telling them it's not your fault, we can help you, it's those people over there, they want to push you down, you don't have to have an ID to vote. You know, I mean, all of a sudden, it's hard. It's really difficult for them to believe you, that you really have their interests at heart when you do this.
And you are true, and that's absolutely right.
With respect to what you were saying, one thing you can do is remind people that it was Dwight Eisenhower who sent federal troops to integrate the public schools. And whether you like affirmative action or not, it was Richard Nixon who started it at the federal level. So we have a history too. It wasn't just Johnson and Kennedy.
That gets lost. That's like a
Well,
sub.
that's why you got to tell everybody. 'Cause even Republicans did not know that. Because we don't talk about it.
Very, 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 very true. But what are you saying? And okay, first and foremost, you have to realize the ones you're not going to reach. So I have a saying. There are some people who are perfectly fit to be Democrats. Let them be Democrats. Okay? If they say, I don't want to work, I just want to take, don't try. Don't even try. You have wasted and lost too much of your time already. Tell them you are perfectly fit to be a Democrat, have a nice life enjoying your poverty, and walk away. Don't sugarcoat it. Because what you leave in their mind, believe it or not, it stays there. So when they go home and it looks like poverty, your words are going to ring in their minds. So don't think you haven't done anything. You've done something. You've awakened them to the fact that, oh yeah, this is what poverty looks like. And sometimes even that is enough. But specifically speaking about like icons, we have our icons, and I just went over some of our icons, but we don't get taught about the Great Society. If they talk about the Great Society, a Democrat talks about the Great Society, and they talk about it in a good fashion. Matter of fact, if you play close attention, you will hardly ever see a white Democrat talk about the Great Society. Most of the time, you will hear black Democrats talk about the Great Society. Culture war. The culture war, I think, for conservatives starts
Mine is watching Dwayne Dupree.
Well, Dwayne Dupree, I love my Wayne.
You ask him who Manning Johnson is. He will tell you.
Okay.
Who Manning Johnson is.
That's nice. But everybody's freedom doesn't look alike. Everybody's liberty doesn't look the same. And one problem that conservatives have, and you're seeing it play out right now, is we don't like it when another person's freedom looks different from our freedom. So if your freedom has black lipstick, long black hair, and black fingernails, if your freedom has tattoos all over the place, if your freedom doesn't look like a conservative's view of freedom, then you don't fit. And we have to get to the point where we realize that the whole purpose of freedom is that you can be different. You're supposed to be different. And growing up, right now it's a group on the internet that I love. They're called the Blurs. They're black nerds. They're a black group. They love math, they love science, they love technology, they love sci-fi. They love anything in that weird kind of geeky area. They love it. Guess who their main opposition is? Black people. Because black people tell them, you shouldn't listen to that music. You shouldn't. Math, really? You shouldn't like that show. You shouldn't follow that actor. You shouldn't do this. You shouldn't do that. So they have built an online community amongst themselves where they can go and be just as nerdy and geeky and black as they want to be, and they're accepted. They have created their own domain of freedom and liberty and what it looks like. And they're happy there. These should be our advocates. These should be people on our side. We're pushing for a school choice and we want to get more STEM programs in there. We have an entire group that does nothing but that. And we have advocates, but we don't go to them because they're different from us. They're a non-political group. They don't talk about politics. They talk about Batman and Superman and which Marvel hero is going to get their next movie. Not lying. And they get roasted for black people for being this. So it's not only us we're losing sight of what liberty and freedom actually looks like. And that it doesn't have a specific look. You get to choose what your version looks like. That was always the beauty of America. If you wanted to go and be a millionaire like Donald Trump, you could go be a millionaire like Donald Trump. If you wanted to get married and have a football team like Santorum, you could get married and have a football team like Santorum. It was your choice what your freedom looked like. And we have lost sight of that. So if you don't, and one of my biggest problems is when people in the conservative movement tell me, if you would just like give up hip hop, what, cut out a piece of my soul for you? Cut out a piece of what made me who I am for you? Why would I do that? Matter of fact, let me school you on something. My very first economic lesson did not come out of school. It did not come from a school book. It came from a rap song. When Jay-Z said, your single was 99 cents and mine was $4. That was the Did you get to conservatism through Limbaugh or Levin? Did you get there through Limbaugh, or did you get there through Levin, or did you get there through Hannity? Who was your person to get you through to conservatism? I say Jay-Z, and you say, well, you should give that up. You shouldn't do that. Like, that's bad. He's this, he's that. And I always like to say, right before Obama announced he was running for president, two of the biggest icons in hip-hop, Jay-Z and Nas, came out with a song called Black Republican. It was not a song bashing Republicans. It was a song saying we need to move from where we were to something new. We need to access and get better. We need to grow and move on. That song came out, and then the minute Barack Obama announced he was running for president, the song disappeared from the airwaves. You will barely hear the song played anywhere anymore. You actually literally have to go to YouTube to listen to the song. You have people. Do you think these rappers really want Bernie Sanders like to come in and take 90% of their money? Do you think they want to give Bernie Sanders? Do you think they want to give Bernie Sanders their intellectual property rights? Do you think they want to turn over their masters? Do you think they want to give up their private property? Do you think they would fall for any of this if they could get an ounce of respect from the right? Can't get an ounce of respect from us because they're not like us. They're different. It doesn't fit with what we're doing over here. They're capitalists. How do capitalists not fit with conservatives? I want to answer from somebody because I don't know.
I'm going to ask a question that doesn't have to do with the race.
Okay, this will be the last one. I'm getting my curtain call.
Okay. So,
I will talk all night if you don't stop.
this is kind of in response to what you were just saying, but slightly different. I would actually argue that being more traditional, being more conservative does involve some sacrifice of your individuality. You do have to care about something greater than yourself. And I would say that Donald Trump, I think his popularity reflects the change in the national mood, particularly among the right, that maybe it's not all about just being capitalist and being, for talking about the last couple of decades. Maybe it's about we actually have real existential threats to Western civilization. We may not exist as a country or a civilization for much longer in a certain trends. So I think that we're never gonna reach those people that you say are Democrats for life. Maybe they're not. But I don't think we're ever gonna reach them unless we start talking about things beyond the Supreme Court. We have to talk about the threats to people.
I have to vehemently disagree. Oh, no. I have to vehemently disagree. I have to vehemently disagree. If you don't think, why is it that when they say it's the economy stupid, everybody cheers? Because it's for individual people, not us political junkies, but for individual people, it is the economy. It is money. Name one Republican candidate that would garner any other black vote in this race. Because there's only one. No.
Trump.
And it's Donald Trump.
Right, but he doesn't primarily talk about the economy. He talks
Donald Trump says, I'm rich and I'm going to make you rich. That's it. That's it. That's it.
Because he talks about
You can keep going. I'm thinking about
about his
I'm talking about Trump International.
Alright. We'll take it offline.
When you have been in poverty your entire life, I'm not thinking about the existential threat to America.
Well, I am.
I think political junkie. I'm everyday citizen. I am not thinking about the existential threat. I am thinking that I don't want to be poor tomorrow. And Donald Trump is saying tomorrow I don't have to be poor. Tomorrow is going to look different and things are going to change. No how I'm going to do it. No plan for it. None of that. I'm going to make you rich.
Magic wand.
Not one Republican has got close to what Donald Trump will garner within the black community if he is a Republican nominee. Because they want money. They want out of poverty. They want a better life. Any other message outside of that?
I told you guys you were in for a treat. You just had no idea, especially the guy in the back. Hey everyone, thank you for coming out again. A couple things. One, we want these to continue. This is a great group. It's a great turnout. We want to keep on having a Boston meetup for, sponsored by Breitbart, for you guys to be able to get together and talk about things that you want to talk about. However, unfortunately, Sonny and I, a month from now, if we did it next month, we're going to be in South Carolina helping set up one then. So, we need your help. If you are interested in helping set up future meetups, I have a clipboard somewhere. I'm going to have a clipboard up here in a few minutes that come up and see me, sign up on the clipboard, your name and email address, and we would love to have you. I'll get into contact. I'm doing bad at this thing, guys. I will get in contact with you and we'll talk about the process for getting future Breitbart meetups set up. So, second thing, I don't know if I have any up here or not, but I might. We've got, unfortunately, the Concord folks last night got a little greedy and they took all the bumper stickers I had left. So I don't have any bumper stickers for you tonight, but several of you have seen these small square stickers. You guys have been great putting them on your shirt, but that's actually not the purpose that they were originally intended for. They were great for the shirt. The purpose is, these are made to cover up that nice little Apple symbol or the nice little HP symbol on your laptop, and then instead of having an Apple, you have a Breitbart laptop. So there's a bunch of them on the table right by the stairs as you leave, so you're welcome to grab that. Last thing, finally, Sonny and I aren't leaving yet. We're going to hang out here for a little while and grab a couple more drinks. You guys do the same. We'd love to talk to you more one-on-one and get to know you each a little bit more individually. Yes?
What? From the Worcester County area.
Where's that?
West of here, about 40 miles. With the exception of Worcester City, it's kind of a conservative area all around. And I actually tried to get a meet up there eventually, but no offense to Boston, it's a great place, but it is a bastion. Worcester County is much more conservative. I just wonder if there's any plans to, or can I talk to somebody about getting plans to have a meet up there?
Sure.
Easy to get to.
What you need to do is talk to them. You gotta talk to them. Come up here. We'll talk afterwards and we'll get that. I'm not familiar, obviously, with the areas.